Patel and Bongino joined the Justice Department this year. Patel as FBI director, Bongino his deputy, and they both promised transparency. We're going to open up the Epstein files. But then, in May, before last week's memo shutting down the entire Epstein investigation, they began backpedaling on all those Epstein conspiracies that they were peddling. Now they backpedaled the conspiracy that he was murdered. In a joint appearance on Fox News in May, Bongino and Patel said Epstein died by suicide, the complete opposite of what they claimed throughout the entire Biden administration. Bongino, according to the Washington Post, told Fox News in May, quote, "I've seen the whole file. He killed himself." And then he told his MAGA morons, get over it. Kash Patel agreed and said, "You know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was, a suicide," unquote. So was it a suicide? The Justice Department released closed-circuit surveillance video this week, video from outside Epstein's jail cell in the hours leading up to his death. But now we're discovering a minute is missing from that tape. Is Rosemary Woods still alive? Wired magazine reporting forensics experts say there is sufficient evidence to suggest what the Justice Department calls raw tape. They said this is raw tape, but now Wired is saying forensic experts are saying the raw tape had in fact been altered, stitched together on a video software program like Premiere Pro. Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein, appearing on News Nation, said it wasn't suicide. He said Epstein didn't leave behind a note. Epstein's brother said for years he's been trying to get the raw, uncut surveillance footage, but it has been stonewalled because the FBI claims the tapes are part of an ongoing investigation. The New York City Medical Examiner ruled after its autopsy that Jeffrey Epstein died from suicide. But Mark Epstein hired forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Baden, or Baden, he's famous, I think it's Baden, to be present during that autopsy. Mark Epstein hired forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Baden to be present during the autopsy, and Baden said Epstein's throat injuries were not consistent with suicide. Dr. Baden is in his 90s, served as chief medical examiner of New York City for 11 months in 1979 before getting fired by then Mayor Ed Koch. That's according to NBC News. According to the Los Angeles Times, he then worked as the deputy medical examiner in Suffolk County on Long Island, where he was also fired. Some have referred to Baden as an expert for rent. He was hired by Phil Spector's attorney to offer up a brand new theory on how the blood of Spector's victim ended up all over his jacket. I believe Baden's theory was Spector's toupee committed the murder. I mean, Phil Spector, before getting accused of murder, he invented the wall of hair. Forget the wall of sound. That toupee is genius. Really. He was a genius. Well, Baden served, what was I talking about? Baden served as chairman of the Forensic Pathology Panel for the House Select Committee on Assassinations back in 1976. According to the Washington Post, Baden was highly critical of President Kennedy's autopsy, but concluded Oswald acted alone. He also contributed to the conclusion that Dr. Martin Luther King's assassin, James Earl Ray, was the sole assassin as well. Attorney Alan Dershowitz worked alongside Whitewater prosecutor Ken Starr. They both worked on Trump's legal defense during Trump's first impeachment trial. The two of them also negotiated that sweetheart deal for Jeffrey Epstein back in 2008. Remember that? when Epstein was ordered to do 13 months jail time with an incredibly generous work release program in exchange for his pleading guilty to procuring just one woman under the age of 18 for prostitution. That's all he was convicted of, and he pled guilty, even though at the time Epstein was accused of trafficking dozens of underage women, some as young as 13. Thank you, Alan Dershowitz. Thank you, Ken Starr, for negotiating that deal for Jeffrey Epstein. So he was free to commit more crimes. Good work there, Ken Starr, Bill Clinton's Whitewater Torquemada. Dershowitz, appearing on Sean Spicer's show, said Epstein didn't kill himself without the help of some people, unquote. Dershowitz then explained that Epstein killed himself, but the guards helped him do it. You mean murder? What do you mean? Dershowitz seems to be implying the guards provided Epstein with an opportunity to kill himself. Did they switch off the closed caption security camera? Did they escort Epstein's cellmate out of the cell? Because the cellmate wasn't there. Dershowitz wasn't specific, but he did want to know what happened to Epstein's cellmate. Why was he not there when Epstein died? Dershowitz, on another podcast this week, now saying there is a client list. He knows that, he said, because I saw it. Dershowitz said he knows exactly who was on that list, but he's not allowed to reveal it. But Pam Bondi, our Attorney General, who, like Alan Dershowitz and Ken Starr, was one of Donald Trump's attorneys during his first impeachment, she says there is no Epstein client list. Back in February, she said there is one. Now she's saying there is no client list. Julie K. Brown, author of Perversion of Justice, the Jeffrey Epstein story, said in February during Pam Bondi's confirmation hearings for U.S. Attorney General, this is what Julie K. Brown said, quote, "It's interesting to note that Pam Bondi was Florida's Attorney General from 2011 to 2019, a period of time when Jeffrey Epstein's plane records became public, victims' lawsuits were filed, and a lot of new evidence against Epstein surfaced. So questions should be asked during her confirmation hearings about why she didn't take up the case or launch a probe when she was Attorney General in Florida." Julie K. Brown also said, quote, "I guess it's possible she could have missed all the hundreds of Jeffrey Epstein stories that were published during the time she was the top law enforcement official in the state of Florida." That's Julie K. Brown, author of Perversion of Justice, the Jeffrey Epstein story. Pam Bondi, by the way, refers to Donald Trump as the Justice Department's client. She's the Attorney General of the United States, and she repeatedly refers to Donald Trump as the Justice Department's client. This is unprecedented. She actually fired a U.S. attorney who eventually became a whistleblower. And in the memo back in March announcing his firing, she said the same fate will await any other lawyer in the Justice Department who doesn't make a full-throated argument on behalf of our client, Donald Trump. So, by now, we're all familiar with Bondi's promise back in February that she had the Epstein client list sitting right there on her desk. She said, "I'm looking at it right now." She said, it was on Sean Hannity's show, she said, "We have the flight logs from the Lolita Express, And she promised on Fox News in February all the names would come out. She spoke of truckloads of evidence, including Epstein's black book, and promised it would all be made public. But now she says there's no list and there's nothing to see. Case closed. The Hill reporting that Bondi's excuse now for her promise in February that she didn't keep is she did have the files on her desk, but had not yet looked at them. When asked by a member of the press during Trump's cabinet meeting this week about closing the Epstein case, Bondi explained it was all because she wanted to protect the victims, the children. All about protecting the children, except from predators like Jeffrey Epstein and his clients. You weren't too keen on protecting the children back when you were the Attorney General of Florida and Jeffrey Epstein was living in Palm Beach. Were you? No. Bondi spent years accusing the Biden administration of suppressing the Epstein files. But now, when she has the power to do what she said Biden was too chicken to do, she punts. So, people on the not so far right now calling for her empty head.